Good evening. Day 5. Put yourself into a better place. And oh my, how we are struggling to understand. So, as always, we are moving forward, pursuing our creative pursuits, and I am so honored to have you in my virtual company. To my mother, Dorothy, and to my father, Robert, and to my grandmothers, Versi and Maddie, and to my grandfathers, Sammy and Jethro, honored to be here with you today. A few people that I'd like to shout out this evening. Elder Wayne Gooden, upstate New York, Dr. Charlotte Martin, Dr. Vincent June, Heather Archibald, Arvis Tyson Ashite, April Jones, aka The Rhythm, Alan Braverman, and Harriet Andrade. Thank you so much for reaching out. Been doing many other little projects too. Thank you so much to Fred Akaleo for your beautiful card you sent me. And to my friend Anouk von Prague, thank you so much for the card that you send to me. Send cards to people if you can. Thank you. Today is a day of distinct voices. We offer condolences to the family of the Marsalis family. We offer condolences to the family of Bill Withers. We are losing, but we're gaining so much more in this new reality. I thank you again for being in virtual company. Today, I pulled some distinct voices that are relevant and germane to our time. The first one is The Lucky Life by Gerald Stern. I'm going to read a poem from Gerald Stern for you today. The title of this poem from Gerald Stern's book, The Lucky Life by Gerald Stern. I need help from the philosophers. I need help from the philosophers. I am still attacked by memory. I'm still losing Blake in his action. I'm losing his carved lines. I'm hugging over my youth like a tender dealer. Let me close my eyes for 1 second and I see Bobby Wiseman stuttering through his father's old jokes. I see Olive Oil sobbing behind a fence in Brutus's thick arms. I see Giesel trying to keep his dignity in the azaleas. I see my lapels carrying me over the reservoir, across the river. I see my neck fresh from the barber, my chest bursting. Oh, I need help from Spinoza. I don't want to grab Dante by the finger and ask him about my lost woods. I don't want to hang around like Proust in the damp privies. My car rattles as I drive through the outskirts of Trenton looking for 539. One more time I'm going to Long Beach to lie down with the sand dollars. I go there to watch the gulls and the pigeons struggle in their corridors. I go there to encounter the jellyfish and the fleas. Up and down the strip, the Philadelphians are lying in rows, breast side up. They are convalescing. The Lucky Life by Gerald Stern. I need help from the philosophers. Thank you, Gerald, for blessing us tonight. In that same tradition, I pulled a book off my shelf by the well-known poet C.K. Williams. And C.K. Williams wrote a book called The Singing. And it's this phenomenal, spectacular use of language. And I love C.K.'s work. And the title of C.K.'s poem is Self-Portrait with Rembrandt, Self-Portrait. I put my face inches from his and look into his eyes which look back, but whatever it is, so much beyond suffering, I long towards, and his gaze and imagine inhabiting mine eludes me. I put my face inches from his, face palette, knife nearly raw, scraped down to whatever it is that denies flesh yet is flesh, but whatever it is which still so exalts flesh, even flesh scraped nearly raw eludes me. My face inches from his, face neither frowning nor smiling nor susceptible any longer to any expression but this watch, this regard, whatever it is I might keep of any of that eludes me. My face inches from his inches from mine, whatever it is beyond dying and fear of dying, whatever it is beyond solace, which remains solace, eludes me, yet no longer eludes me. Thank you. Self-Portrait with Rembrandt, Self-Portrait from the Singing by C.K. Lewis. Thank you, C.K., for blessing us. The last book tonight by a wonderful, fabulous poet by the name of Brenda Hillman. And the title of her book is Pieces of Air in an Epic by Brenda Hillman. And I'm going to read one poem from Brenda Hillman tonight entitled Wind Treaties. Between church bells, I held its breath, air coming from half states it has visited where dread meets ecstasy, skid marks allow us mighty and bruised oxygen, and I imagine a black square made of arid knees thread around the great city, wind coming from corners such that talking would never cease. Talking should never cease. Heads bent over documents, allowing distinction over solitude. Stitches at the edges of dignity. Decades of give it away while these winds worked. Lamps flickering in the stable districts, symbolic weights being added to bodies, walking in ordinary courtship outfits in a park. Wind Treaties by Brenda Hillman in her book Pieces of Air in the Epic. So tonight we heard from 3 distinct voices, and I think that this was a wonderful way to encourage readership, encourage listening to each other tonight. We heard from The Lucky Life by poet Gerald Stern. We heard The Singing by C.K. Williams. And we heard an epic, Pieces of Air in an Epic by the poet Brenda Hillman. I wanted to save a little time for our nation's children, and so I decided to pull another book from my collection of children's books to read to you tonight. And it's a story of the blues legend Muddy Waters, called Muddy. And the book is written by Michael Mahan and illustrated by Evan Turk. Muddy. McKinley Morganfield was never good at doing what he was told, especially when it came to playing in the mud. His mama should have been mad, but she couldn't help but laugh. Oh, my muddy baby, my sweet muddy baby. McKinley's mama gave him a life and a laugh, and then she was gone forever. Oh, child, long gone. Oh, child, sail on. But McKinley did have Grandma Della. She scooped him up and tried to keep him clean and finally just started calling him Muddy. And he had music. Muddy loved the say it with me voice of the preacher and the glory, glory singing of the choir. But the music Muddy really loved, they didn't play on Sundays. What Muddy really loved was fish fry music. It would shake off the dust and wring out your worries and laugh and cry and feel alive music. It was the blues, and Muddy couldn't get enough of it. To have the blues was to feel bad, but to play the blues was to take that low-down skunk funk, deep stomach hurt and turn it into something else. Muddy liked the blues. Unfortunately, Grandma Della did not. Last time I checked, you can't eat the blues for breakfast, said Grandma Della. No child of mine is going to waste his time with music. But Muddy was never good at doing what he was told. So he found himself a half-smashed kerosene can to beat on, and a wheezy accordion to squeeze, and a tired piece of wire to pluck, and made himself enough noise to feel good. Not even Grandma Della could keep him from dancing. One night, Muddy watched his hero, blues legend Son House, smash an empty bottle, take the bottleneck and smooth its jagged edge over a fire. This is called a slide, he said, dragging the bottleneck up the strings. The guitar howled like a wolf, powerful, lonely, and proud. That was the sound of the Mississippi Delta. That was the sound Muddy heard in his heart. Muddy saved his pennies, brought himself an old Stella guitar, and practiced and played for anyone who wanted to listen, and a few who didn't. And after a while, the howl that was in his heart finally started coming out of his guitar. On weekends, Muddy made the juke joints jump, playing for the workers when it was time to unwind. But when Monday came, Muddy was back in his overalls, back working the fields. Sharecropping was back, bursting, soul-breaking work, and Muddy was already in a bad mood when the new boss man started picking on him. Muddy had gotten good at burying his anger and his pride and his hurt. To do otherwise could get you beaten up or worse, but today Muddy couldn't do it. He was tired of being picked on. I ain't a boy, he said, and I sure ain't your boy. The boss man's face went red with anger as Muddy walked away. Stop right there, or you'll never work in this town again. But Muddy was never good at doing what he was told. Chicago's got a lot of people, he told Grandma Della, but I don't think they ever had a Muddy Waters before. Me and my guitar gonna make it just fine. Don't you worry, Grandma. Oh, child, long gone. Oh, child, sail on. The clack of track, steam blur of an Illinois Central train rocketed Muddy and his guitar into the bustle and buzz of Chicago's South Side. Chicago was plugged in, turned on, and turned up, and so was its music. Records with electrified guitars and jazzy horns were making the blues jump all over town. Chicago was the city of the Brown Bomber Joe Louis, the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. It was the city of the Chicago Defender, the legendary black newspaper dedicated to fighting racial injustice. And now it was the city of Muddy Waters. In the clubs, the bebop, jazz, swing of horns and strings had laid itself down over the blues like a chiffon blanket. This was music by city smooth, sophisticated cats, not country dusted hound dogs. No one wanted to hear a country boy playing country blues. You gotta shake the dust off, the club owners teased. You gotta jazz it up. But Muddy was never good at doing what he was told. The way he figured, his playing was just fine. It was their hearing that needed help. So Muddy plugged in, turned on, turned up, and out came the sound of the Delta buzzing and mad like an angry hornet's nest looking for a fight. It was deep-feeling, gut-bucket, gut-aching music full of life and love and trouble and pride. It made people stand up and raise their hands and stomp their feet and laugh and cry and come alive. It was nothing like the primped and polished sounds people were used to, and they loved it. Whoa, yay, whoa, yay. Sell on, Muddy. Muddy loved the clubs, but the late hours and the low pay took their toll. He couldn't live on change alone. One day, Muddy got a call. A friend was making a record at the Universal Recording Studios, and he needed a sideman to back him up on the guitar. If Muddy played well, they might even let him record his own song. Finally, a chance. First, they recorded his friend, and then they recorded him. Muddy did exactly what they told him to do. They added strings and horns and that soft and sweet bluebird record beat, but Muddy didn't care. He was just happy to be making a record. Too bad they put someone else's name on it. Muddy couldn't believe it. This was supposed to be his big break. This was supposed to be his record, but it wasn't. At least not according to the cover. A year later, Muddy made a record for Columbia. This time, they got his name right. Too bad they decided not to release the record. Muddy was crushed. I play it like they say to play it, and they still don't like it, he thought. What am I supposed to do? When record producer Leonard Chess called, Muddy knew not to give his hopes up. Leonard just wanted Muddy to record Leonard's music Leonard's way, but Muddy knew this might be his last chance, so he said yes. Soft is right, sweet and polite, said Leonard. That's where the cats are at. Muddy picked up his guitar, walked to the microphone, but he couldn't do it, not again. Muddy had never been good at doing what he was told anyway. When Leonard pointed to the horns, Muddy pointed to the exit. No horns, no jazz, no fooling, said Muddy. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail playing my music my way. There was lightning in Muddy's eyes. If Leonard could bottle that, maybe they'll have something. You got one chance, said Leonard. Don't blow it. Muddy sat down with his guitar, pulled the microphone up close and closed his eyes. Whoa, child. He remembered the dust and the plow and the meanness of the land and the softness of King Cotton. Oh, child. He called up the sticky heat of a summer night, the power of love and the need of connection in a world that was so good at pulling people apart. He played like Son House had taught him, not with his fingers, but with his heart. Muddy sang about life, and he lived it with all of its pain, its power, and its glory forever. Still unconvinced, Leonard printed only 3,000 copies of the record and sent them to local stores. Muddy chewed his nails and waited. What if people didn't like his voice? What if he wasn't good enough after all? Muddy didn't have to wait long to find out. All across the South Side, the boom and the bounce of Muddy's voice thundered down from open apartment windows. People were talking. This new blues was something special. It felt honest and raw. It felt real, like the past and the future, and the country and the city all rolled up into one. Not only did Muddy have a record, he had a hit. In 24 hours, it was sold out. Leonard printed more and more. One day, the Beatles would be shaking Muddy's hand. One day, the President of the United States would be tapping his toes. One day, the whole world would know the name Muddy Waters. One day was on his way. Old child, long gone. Old child, sail on. We're sailing on. And because of the legacy of Muddy Waters and all of the voices tonight, I thank you for spending time with me. Old child, long gone. Old child, sail on. Thank you for your virtual company. Put yourself in a better place.